When my daughter was 7 years old, she lost her eyes, and my whole view of the world changed. And today, I need to change your view. And the reason for that is it's not just one story, but it's the story of hundreds and thousands of families around the world. And I need your help to create the change. But to ask for your help, I owe you the truth. When my little girl Ella was growing up, like many toddlers, she ran around with a bucket on her head, unencumbered, free. And she was deeply loved. But there was also a lot of noise from the experts, telling us things that would be wrong with her, things that she wouldn't do or be, because of her labels. But it didn't matter, because despite her battles with her body, her breathing, and even during chemotherapy, I saw her. I saw her beautiful soul standing on a beach with no hair, singing for the world to hear. And despite the fact she couldn't see or hear very well, she was fascinated with books, and she sang constantly. And like all parents do, we had dreams for her future. Maybe she'd sing on stage one day. Whatever she did, we knew she'd be amazing. And when she went to school, we dreamt, like all parents do, that they would put the wings on her back and she'd fly with the potential we knew she had. And for the first few years it was okay. But by the time she was 7, we realized they didn't really see Ella, only her labels. They didn't see her as a person like you or me. She was a collection of problems to fix, something to be managed. And at home, she wasn't sleeping. And she was terrified of sitting in her pushchair. And she'd stop singing. And I trusted the people who'd looked after my daughter during the day. But I knew that she was in crisis. I knew there was a train crash coming. And I was desperately trying to tell them. But nobody was listening. And Ella didn't use words, but she tried every other way imaginable to say that things had become unbearable. At 7 years old, my daughter was self-harming daily. She ripped the hair out of the front of her head. She bit her hands until they swelled. And she hit her head repeatedly. And some of you will connect with what I'm saying right now, and you will know that that is the language of make it stop. And I'll remember this day for the rest of my life. And I was called into school for a crisis meeting because their response to my daughter's reaction was that she was too challenging to handle. And after the meeting, I asked if I could see her. And I was told I could only look through the window in the door. And I saw my little girl, my Ella, restricted in her chair, crying and screaming and throwing herself against the straps. You wouldn't have treated a dog like that. And it broke my heart. Because the first thing that came into my head was that she would think that Mummy had said that was okay. And we took her home, and we thought the worst was over. But 3 weeks later, at a routine eye appointment, they realized that my daughter had hit her head so hard, she detached both of her retinas and she went blind. And the lights had gone out. And for 2 years, I was stuck in a cycle of anger and grief because it completely consumed me, because I couldn't look in her eyes anymore without breaking down. And then one day, it stopped because I woke up and I realized that while I was angry, Ella wasn't. And she was trying again, different as her life was now. She wasn't obsessing about what had happened. She wasn't grieving dreams she'd never had for herself. She was trying again. She was dealing with Thursday and the weather and who was sitting right in front of her. And I had to do the same. I had to put the anger away, focus on her, focus on hope, and we had to start again. We have a crate at our front door. It's nothing fancy. I've got a husband and 3 kids. I don't have time to display my shoes like a Pinterest board. And every day for 9 months, my daughter would sit and go through this crate twice a day. And at first, people thought this was cute or interesting. Around 3 months, I could see they were all becoming slightly awkward about it. And at 6 months, some of the more official visitors said to me that this was obsessive and I needed to stop her. And I said, but I haven't figured out what she's doing yet. Have you? And I decided we were going to listen to Ella this time. And it was really hard just to observe and be humble and open to the clues that she gave. It was really hard not to steer her. And one day, after 9 months, she stood up and she walked across the hallway and she sat down in the chair and she stuck her foot out and she said, boots. She'd learned everything she needed to learn and she was done. And she never did it again. And I got it. This time I got it. Ella was showing us her world. This is how I learn. This is how I do things. This is me, and I can do it. And I mentally drew a line in the sand because I realized once you took the stressful environment away and the people who didn't believe and treated her like a human being, she could achieve like anyone. And I decided I would no longer allow my daughter to be forced to learn in a way that she couldn't. This time we were going to listen to her. We were going to connect with Ella. We were going to work with her, not do to her, and doing so widen our view. And the assumptions from the past faded away. And I realized although Ella had lost her sight, she had given us great vision. And the shoeness of a shoe was complete. And the lights went back on and hope came back into the room. And with the connection and trust restored, Ella is absolutely flying. And she recently announced to her father that she's looking forward to getting married. So you can imagine how that went down. The thing is, this whole journey that we've been on, it's not just been about Ella and our family. It's affected everybody connected to her. People who work with us say it's changed their lives. And it's enriched our whole community. And if that can happen in our tiny part of the world, why are Ella's not seen everywhere, every day, in our homes, communities, and our societies, all the time? Why are they hidden and locked away and marginalised and othered and pushed out still? We're conditioned in society to look at things through a certain lens, and I'm telling you it's completely false. Because we've got to a point where we hold everyone up against a measuring stick. We decide who deserves and who doesn't. Who gave us the right to do that? Is it our obsession with reducing people to ones and zeros? Is it our fear that if we give to others, we will have less for ourselves? All this stuff is false. It has no value or meaning. And it's brought us to a crisis point in every part of our world. And it's vital that we turn this conversation on its head. We need to reboot. We need to flip the narrative. We need to relearn that it does not matter what package you arrived in. We need to look again. Because these people that we currently treat appallingly are the integral part of our humanity, and we are completely excluding them. Everybody needs more connection, compassion, creativity, and diverse ways of thinking. We need it. And we've got to turn to these people and ask them to join us. We cannot continue to exclude them. Everybody needs a seat at the table. And we need to drop the ridiculous assumptions. And all it takes to change this is to change your point of view. Stop tolerating blatant inequality. Demand better for your fellow humans. Because we are all different, but we're the same. Because we're all human beings, and we need a human movement. Because we are one, and we can do this. Thank you.